It's a nice cold morning. I'm here at day one, inner engineering with Sadhguru, bright and early, just after 7 a.m. Lots of folks already here to check in. Very, very enthusiastic about being here. I've been watching Sadhguru's videos for a solid 2 years now, and I saw him in person in Pasadena in 2016 when he was touring his inner engineering book. And I had a dear friend who said that they did the inner engineering program, which has an online portion that you complete in person with Sadhguru, and he gives you this futuristic / ancient super mudra. Mudra being this like multi-sensory, multi-dimensional holding pattern for aspects of the internal mechanism of the body, mind, body, and spirit. And that's kind of like a super tool for aligning the system. And my friend said that this experience was unlike anything else, intense, extremely powerful. So yeah, that's day one. I noticed that it was kind of like wowing how many of the people there felt like they were there for a really beautiful reason. And yeah, obviously that's my subjective lens of what's a beautiful reason and what isn't a beautiful reason. But I'll say a clean reason. I saw a handful of folks that were there, you know, in the Instagram world. Like I took photos and I took some video on my phone. But I did see felt like kind of a messy vibration a couple times, but not that many. Like 90% of the folks there felt like they were there for like a really holistic and pure intention, which was to complete this inner engineering program and receive this technology from Sadhguru. Maybe some of the folks were just a little bit extroverted with their Instagram selfie vibes, selfie sticks and stuff like that. Again, I was making this video, but I'm specifically referencing this moment. Hi, meow meow. I'm specifically referencing this moment where it was like after we had finished the shambhuvi maha mudra, people were like running up to the stage to like touch Sadhguru's hand. On one of the occasions I joined, and I joined and got up there, and people were pushing and people were like really scrunching us in, but then there was this moment where there was a lady, like a small lady in front of me, and I kind of like, pushed back and created this kind of roundness with my arms and my shoulders to make sure she wasn't getting crushed, because her head was like at my chest, and there were taller dudes around me. I'm 5'10", so like there were people already bigger than me. And me and a couple other dudes around her literally did the same thing. We created this wall around her, and that by itself moved me. And the wave of humans kept pressing in, and all of us were just wanting to touch Sadhguru's hand. And I did. I got a chance to touch his actual hand and his thumb on 2 different times. And I just felt intense heat. Like it literally felt, it wasn't shock. It wasn't a shock kind of sensation, but it was like heat. And more so than just like somebody's hand was hot from touching a bunch of human hands. Like this dude had electricity running through him in a really intense way. And it felt really profound to be able to touch him. I noticed that he was receiving it, and it was like we were all moving together as like one unit, one entity about to touch this man. And I felt like almost a creature in the bottom of the ocean that is part of the water, but it's kind of like an algae, and we were like swaying together as we were being pushed into and touching him. And then he came and touched us, and we like, got lit up, and I looked around and I wasn't the only one with tears in my eyes. And it was just so intense, this feeling of this human being has literally dedicated their lives towards assisting others accessing varying degrees of well-being, this ecstatic state of yoga, of union. It's like he's a straight up channel. It's like he is a straight up mirror. Even if you try to just do the selfie thing and touch him for that reason of like, oh, I touched Sadhguru, and it's just a surface level like social accumulation of an experience that the ego is saying like, oh, look everybody, I did this thing, and here I am on this phone telling you about that. Even if that happens, he's literally just pointing at the one infinite. There's one source, and even if you're pointing at him, he points at that. So he points us all back to ourselves. He points us all back to that same thing inside of us. So it's really difficult to just look at him as this opportunity to have a social experience. Also, I just remember feeling overwhelmed with joy and ecstasy, and it was this emotion that's really difficult to describe, and it's not meant to be described, I sense. But sharing this here again, just as a noticing of how intensely impacted I have been by this experience. And it's not like we were all going there to just see Sadhguru and get a selfie. Like all of these people that were there were people who had completed this more than 7 hours worth of a program. And it's quite accessible as he makes it, but it's quite esoteric and occult in terms of the nature of the topics and the concepts. This is self-realization, and we're not doing shambhuvi maha mudra to share it on social media. Like shambhuvi maha mudra is something that is meant for you and you alone, and your internal cultivation of chi, prana, and shakti. And you're like, it's yoga, it's alchemy. So this dude is literally an alchemist at, I feel like, the highest level that's on earth right now. It's not like he's famous for other shit. He's famous because he's moving consciousness. I looked around and there was supposedly around 4,000 people there. I was like, yo, this dude is, what? The city of Dallas awarded him this certificate that literally is apparently this year for the next I don't know how many years, a long time. That day of the year is Sadhguru Day, and celebrating how he benefits all that he comes into contact with. So I thought that was pretty special, pretty amazing. So now it's a couple weeks later. I'm out here in Encinitas. It's closed today, but just down there, up there-ish, is the SRF Self-Realization Fellowship. Yeah, it's closed today, but I'm nearby the energy field of Yoganandaji. And I'm a couple weeks into my practice of shambhuvi maha mudra. And to be honest with you, it's everything I could have wanted and I have been wanting. I literally notice it as that. It's everything I've been wanting. And my perspective is a little different than maybe I sense most that went to that particular Dallas event, but I sense most of the inner engineering program different in regards to my relationship with an already existing sadhana, which I've been now in daily sadhana, give or take, daily, but I've been in a sadhana commitment for 3 years now, since September of 2016, and it's December of 2019 now. And I'm familiar with aspects of what shambhuvi maha mudra requires in terms of the internal locks and the bandhas that it is. And I've been introduced by my teacher, Will Dupree, to Kriya Yoga and Raja Yoga through Hatha Yoga. And so Kriyas and Mudras, it feels like my system is used to them, and shambhuvi is like a kind of a continuation of some of the Kriyas that I've been familiarizing myself with and engaging in and practicing daily. Because even if there are days where I don't do sadhana, I can't help but do pranayama. I can't help but do mantra. I can't help but do mudra. Like, I find myself just in line at the grocery store and my fingers are just becoming aware of how it feels to have different grasp, different, open palm. You ever just be talking to somebody and your hands are open or closed, or a finger starts holding a certain way? And it does. It's very subtle if one isn't familiarized with the ways in which it does affect the system, but it does affect the system. It is subtle, but it can become more and more prominent with more and more concentration and practice and noticing as to how it does affect the system. So I suppose this video showing my experience with Sadhguru is only meant to be a sharing of my own process, but if you are interested in familiarizing yourself with the process of self-realization, Sadhguru's online inner engineering program is a phenomenal place to start. If you don't have access to a teacher or a guru frequency, that online portal is an awesome, incredible entrance point into it. Which, by the way, all Westerners and, Tony Robbins-esque affiliates of the idea of not wanting guru or like resisting the idea of guru. I forget precisely where the reference came to me, but it once was said, if you ever see a kid playing with a knife trying to cut apples, and your instinctive human system says, "Whoa, let me help you not cut your fingers off," that is, in its most simplistic format, that's guru. That's the guru of the universe that can come to us through anything. I've definitely had some animals that have felt like guru. Cats probably more so than dogs, though. From what I've been shown and taught, gu and ru are just two different things that together mean one thing. Gu, remover, ru, darkness. So a guru is just someone who helps you not cut your fingers off when you use a knife. And I was shown and taught by my teacher that a guru is like a lighthouse. It's on the shore, which, interestingly enough, Self-Realization Fellowship is very similar to a lighthouse. It's not going to move for you. Let's say that those little cluster there is a lighthouse. If we are a boat out there in the journey of life, the palm tree, the lighthouse doesn't come to meet you. It doesn't move its space. It doesn't move from its location. It stays there. And by using it as a reference point, we can avoid rocks. That's really all that, from what I've been shown, guru is meant to do. So that also means that if that can reside in someone else, then it can also reside within, as goes the structure, as there is only really one thing happening in many shapes and many forms. The hero with 1,000 faces. Shout out to Joseph Campbell. Shout out to you. Shout out to me. Shout out to us. Shout out to Gaia. Quite the ultimate guru, teaching us what is no longer in harmony as patterns, as belief systems, as ways, as philosophies, things that are no longer sustainable. And how do we know? Well, it's reflecting back to us so that we can become aware of it. So what is happening in your life right now that you are becoming aware of, that life itself is asking you to reconsider potentially other ways or other paths to consider as where you are going is being walked towards? Love, light, blessings, blessings. Namaste.